Hi, I'm Laura. Welcome to my homestead kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how I make my salsa, my fresh garden salsa, and can it from my garden tomatoes. So I have a whole bunch of these tomatoes I have to do up today. The boys went out to the garden and picked them all for me and brought them in. So now I need to make them into my salsa. So I try to get a good supply of salsa to last us all year. So we'll use our fresh tomatoes, our fresh peppers from the garden, onions, and some vinegar. So I'll show you everything you need to do this in this video. So I'm gonna take all of my fresh tomatoes. Some of them definitely need to get done today. So we're just gonna cut out that stem and any bad parts. And we're gonna just leave a stack here for us to do. So the first thing we're doing with these tomatoes, cutting that out because we need to peel them all. If you use your skins, the weird texture thing that happens. So you need to peel them before you can make your salsa or do anything else. So the salsa that I make, I would say similar to store-bought, but better. It's nice and thick and tastes super, super good. I think using the fresh stuff from the garden is what really makes it so great. My tomatoes did really good this year in the garden. I'm really happy with those. We still have lots coming on, lots to do. So I'll probably be doing like just jars of diced canned tomato as well. But I know salsa is more expensive to buy. So it's kind of my first priority, especially because all my peppers are ready to get picked as well. So we can do both of those at the same time. Okay, so I'm gonna get a bunch of these done up and then we'll blanch them and peel them. Okay, so our pot of water here, there's like, I don't know, 4 inches of water in this pot. So it's just enough to cover the tomatoes with, and when you put them in, it's not gonna like overflow the pot. Yeah, so just water, almost boiling, and Dylan is gonna put the tomatoes in and blanch them for us. So we're just gonna fill our pot. We'll put as many as can fit, and they're still gonna be all in the water.
Honey, go into the water.
And then when you can see those peels start to come off by themselves, we'll take them out and put them in the cold water. So it only takes about a minute. Okay, so you can see these tomatoes are starting to crack and lift the peel off. So it's time to take them out and we'll put them in this cold water and John and Kyla can start peeling for us. Good.
Tomatoes ready. Hey Mom, we just doing it crazy.
So the kids have all of these peeled for me, these 3 big bowls full of tomatoes. So I'm gonna get a good few batches of salsa out of that. So next I need to drain out the water because these aren't like Roma tomatoes. They're just, I don't know, like an heirloom variety tomato that I grow. I haven't had good success with Romas, so I don't grow them. So I'm gonna put this cheesecloth I have in this pot. I'm just gonna place it over the sides like this. And then I'm gonna take each tomato. You could dice these if you wanted to and then put them in the cheesecloth, but it's not as fun. And it's slower. So I usually just take each tomato like this and just crush it into the size of piece I want. So I don't want these big pieces. I want smaller pieces. Like if you eat salsa with a Tostito chip, you don't want this huge chunk of tomato. So break it into the size that you want. And I kind of just do it over this pot here into the cheesecloth to catch everything. And then when this is full, we'll hang it up and drain out the water so that we have a nice thick salsa, not a runny salsa. So the boys love a messy job like this, so they're gonna work on crushing all of these for me so I don't have to do it. They are happy to help with this kind of job. Okay, so the boys got all of this crushed up for me. So now I'm going to hang it up to drain out all the water. So I have this hook here and it just kind of stays permanently in my kitchen, specifically for this job. See that? I have this loop here. So I'm just gonna wrap this around the end and put it through. Cinch it tight and hang it on my hook here. Okay, so now all of this juice, watery stuff is gonna drain into my pot, and then we're gonna have a nice thick salsa with the rest of this tomato stuff. So I'll just let that drain for a while, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so our tomato bag has stopped dripping. So I'm gonna take it down from here, put it in this other bowl. So I'm just trying to show you how much juice we got out of here. So this pot is up to here. It's quite a lot of water that won't be in our salsa. So I'm gonna undo this knot. I'm just gonna flip this bag upside down and get all those tomatoes out, and then we will get the next bowl draining. So once all of the tomatoes are drained, we will know how many cups of tomatoes we have to use, and then we'll be able to figure out how many peppers and onions and jalapenos and all of that we need for how many batches of salsa we can do today based off the amount of tomatoes we have. So I'll see you again when all my tomatoes are all drained. Well, I ran out of time yesterday to finish my salsa, but I did get all of the tomatoes drained and put in this big pot, and I measured them out. So I just have this on low and it's starting to boil, and I'm gonna add the rest of my ingredients and cook this salsa for a bit before we put it into jars. So I ended up with enough tomatoes to do a 6 times batch, but I will tell you all the measurements for just like a 1 batch, and then you can double it or triple it or whatever you want to do if you try this recipe. Yeah, so for a 1 times batch, you need 7 cups of these diced tomatoes that are drained. Then I'm gonna do up all of these onions, peppers from the garden, and these jalapenos. One of these jalapenos is mine, and then the rest are from Ed's mom and dad. Okay, so for 1 times batch of salsa, if that's what you're doing, you're gonna need about 2 cups of onions. So like this onion, I would do like 4 of them. I'm gonna do all these. And then you'll need 3 jalapenos. I find my homegrown jalapenos are spicier than store-bought. So you could just try like 2 jalapenos and then taste it. If you want more spice, then add more in, depending on how spicy or not spicy you like your salsa. And then you'll need 1 cup of green pepper. So I have these peppers and they're not as juicy as a bell pepper, I find. So I'm gonna use 2 of them for like a 1-time batch. I would use 2 of those. I'm gonna use my food processor because there's a lot to chop. So I'll get all of this chopped up and add it into my salsa before we add the rest of our spices and stuff. So for these jalapenos, I'm not gonna bother de-seeding them. I'm just literally cutting the stem off and then I'll chop them up in the food processor. You can de-seed them if you want to, but it's extra work. And then I find if you leave the seeds in, it's quite a bit spicier, so you don't have to use as many jalapenos. You get more spice for less pepper. When you're doing the jalapenos too, just watch yourself because like after you shred that up, it literally will make you cough from the spice that's coming in the air. Yeah, and then just be careful with your hands. If you're de-seeding them, I would recommend wearing gloves because it's spicy and it'll burn your hands even. So for the onions, I'm just cutting off both sides and then cutting in half and peeling them. And then putting them in that food processor to chop up. Okay, we are adding the last of our veggies. So we're gonna give this a stir and add in almost all the rest of the ingredients. My pot's really full. I hope it doesn't overflow on me. Okay, so then for a 1-time batch, you're gonna add a tablespoon of salt. And you're gonna add 3/4 cup of white vinegar to your pot. You're also gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. Then you're just gonna stir that and let it cook down for a while till your peppers and onions, jalapenos and tomatoes are all kind of cooked and soft. So about an hour or so, you can just let it cook. Kind of keep your eye on it to make sure it doesn't burn to the bottom. Stir it every once in a while. Okay, now that our salsa has been boiling for over an hour, it's like the vegetables are nice and cooked and all the flavors are all like melted together nice. It smells super good. I tried it. It's a little spicy, kind of like a hot salsa, not like extra hot or anything. So if you like it less spicy, then don't use as much jalapenos. Yeah, so now the last thing we're gonna add in here is just 2 small cans of tomato paste for your 1 batch recipe. And it's just to kind of give it, instead of a watery salsa, you're gonna get like a saucy salsa. So these little cans, it says 5.5 ounce. So you could do a bigger can, like a 10-ounce can. Yeah, so just add that in and give it a stir. So now I'm just gonna fill up all of my jars. See how many jars we get out of here. Leaving my 1/2-inch headspace. And then we're going to can these at 10 pounds pressure for 20 minutes in my canner. Smells good. Okay, so I got my assortment of lids all on my jars here. I just use, like I reuse these pickle jar, salsa jar lids until they stop sealing or are noticeably damaged or whatever, then I'll recycle them. But you can keep reusing them and they'll keep resealing. And then these ones, I just have some wide mouth lids and rings on. So I'm gonna get my canner going, it's on, pour in my 4 cups of water in the bottom. And then this thing is in the bottom as well. And we're just gonna fill up our canner with as many of these jars as will fit. I'm sure I'm gonna have to do 2 loads of this. So I'll put this in. And then we'll put another layer on top. Okay, so that's full, and then I have these left to do. So we'll do that after. So I'll get my big old lid on. There's an arrow here, right there. You line it up with this indent here in the canner. And then make sure your lid is level. And then put these knobs up and tighten them. So I like to do the knobs across from each other so that you don't make your lid unlevel when you're tightening it up. And then once this vent is steaming for 7 minutes, we will put our weighted gauge on at 10 pounds. When the gauge goes to 10 pounds, it's heated up enough, we can turn it down and let it can for 20 minutes and then shut it off. And then I'll get these done. And then we'll be done salsa. I think I'll have enough salsa for the year after this big load is done, and then I can just work on my diced tomatoes. Okay, so I'm gonna let that can, and we'll see you guys again next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you try out this salsa recipe or make your own salsa. I'd love to hear about it. See you next time.